Calvin Castan at American Legion Post 912 in Rouse's Point. It's just me and my tripod, so there'll be no zooming or anything like that. And it's unfortunate because you got three good-looking fellas here that the camera, if Judy were here, she'd be zooming in on, but unfortunately there'll be no zooming today. This is chapter 2 of our little series. We wanted to give every veteran an opportunity to chat with us and tell us whatever part of their story they want to tell us. And we're concentrating right now on the Viet Nam War. And I'll just mention about myself. I was born in 1947. I graduated high school in '64. At that point, it was known as military advisors that were reading about stuff in Vietnam, but there was no war. And it wasn't long after that we sent our first combat troops about a year later. So we got three guys here, and I'm going to go from left to right. I'm not going by best looking or anything like that. So it's just coincidence, George, that I'm my left. Tell us your name.
George Marnes.
And born in what, 48?
48, born in 48, graduated St. Mary's in 1965. And I went 1 year of college, and then Dave Pickering and myself joined the Marine Corps on the buddy plan.
With buddies like that, who needs enemies, right?
True, very true.
All right, and in the middle?
Woodrow Clark. Joined the Marine Corps, and I was born actually in 1949. And I joined the Marine Corps in March of 1967 on a delayed entry program with Robert LaFountain.
Pepe?
And
Pepe LaFountain.
yeah. Pepe LaFountain. And what happened is I got a little Yancey, Sergeant Major Jacques gave me the opportunity to go in 3 months earlier rather than wait till I graduated, so I quit high school. And I was inducted in the Marine Corps in March 16th of 1967.
So it would have been your senior, it was your senior year?
Senior, yes.
And the military talked you into not graduating?
Yes, I took the GED, a high school GED in the military.
Well, you knew everything you needed to know. You must have been 17, 18. You already knew everything you needed to know already, right?
Pretty much.
I know I did. So that was Champlain Central.
Yes, Champlain Central.
All right, and?
I'm Dave Pickering. I was born in 1947. I also quit high school to work on my uncle's farm, Leo Nevert's farm. I worked there for a couple of years. And George and I were out one night, and Louis Laundrie was with us. We decided to join the service. Well, I had forgot about it. The next morning, they come up at like 7:30 in the morning, and I'm out in the barn milking cows, and they said, "We going?" I said, "Going where?" He said, "We joined the service. We're going to join service last night." I said, "Well, I said I'd go. I guess I'm going." So I went in and told my aunt I'm joining the service, and that's how it happened with George and I. And it went in as buddy plan.
And Louis went in a little bit later, though.
Yeah, Louis had went down with us, but for some reason he come back, and he ended up joining the Army and a little bit later than us.
Okay, so that was what year?
That was 1966, March of 1966.
Okay. You went in and you were 67, you said, right?
Yes, March 67.
Yeah. So I looked up the first combat troops went there in March of 65. The last troops left in March of 73. And in 1968, we had over 500,000 troops there. Yeah. And I think the peak, according to what I saw online, was 43,482 in April of 69. Yeah. And 47,000, according to this website I saw, were U.S. lost. Yeah. That's a lot of.
Yeah. Well, I got shot over there May 26, 1967. Lucky to be alive. George and I come home in March of 68. We're here anyways.
So the first two guys we talked to, Eddie Gelano was busy building roads, and Bobby St. John was making parachutes and stuff. Yeah. So they kind of avoided that that live fire kind of stuff, but all three of you guys were there.
Yeah, George was, he probably got mortared a lot, but Woody and I were on the front lines fighting.
All right.
Woody was also wounded. We both had Pulper Hearts.
Yeah, I got wounded in just outside of Fubai, between Quezon and Fubai, when we were leaving the area. So, and that was probably around May of '68, somewhere around there.
So each of you were about a year after you went in.
Yeah,
A year after
yeah,
you went in,
yeah,
you
I
were
was-
wounded. A year after you went in, you were
Yep.
wounded.
May 26th I was. I remember that date.
Can you imagine?
I got shot in the shoulder.
It gets your attention, doesn't
Oh,
it?
yeah, yeah. And I went to hospital in Japan for a while, and the 4th of July, I was sent back to Nam. First day we were out on patrol, we got sniped at, and I was on the ground before my helmet. My helmet was still falling. I was on the ground.
After getting shot once,
Yeah,
you get a little
you learn to
gun
duck.
shy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So they just patched you up and sent you
Oh,
back?
yeah, I was in the hospital in Tachikawa and Yokosuka. Oh, about 30 days between the both hospitals, and then they sent me back to Vietnam.
Did you lose any shoulder movement?
It's good. I've had trouble with my other shoulder. I've had it operated on, but they blamed it on this one because I was using the other one more.
Overcompensating?
Yeah.
And Woody, how about you?
No, I didn't leave country. I went to Cameron Bay, and I was there for about 14 days, and by that time, my parents had got a telegram from the War Department. They said, saying that I was wounded and I was in the hospital recuperating, and which. That was kind of, because I didn't even let them know that.
Yeah.
It was kind of a fluke, and so I went right back. They sent me right back. Actually, I really wanted to go right back. It was something like flipped in my mind, like I ate that right up. And yeah, so I went back. I went through Dave went through Way City, the war Way City.
I was there during Tet in 1968.
And I was in Quezon for the siege of Quezon. That started about December 29th of '67, and they had B-52 bombing right around there, around Hill 950 and 881, and around our fire base there at Quezon for four straight months, until we marched out of there. We were relieved by the Army after everything was subsided at that time.
Okay, you're a Marine?
Yes.
Yeah, we were all in the Marine Corps.
All Marine Corps?
Yep.
All right. Not a Gomer Pyle among you, though, right?
I hope not.
I wouldn't say if I was.
We all met in Vietnam. It's funny because I was going into Hue. I still remember the date. It was February 20th. And George and I went in buddy plan, but we corresponded with each other in Vietnam. He'd write me letters, and I'd write them to him. And I knew he was in Fubai. So my outfit went into Fubai the night before we went into Hue, February 20th. And I met up with George, found George, and he said, Woody's here. He said, and Robert Fountain's here, and Greg Mayer. So we all met up together. I said, I got a newspaper clipping of it, Woody had sent home, that the five of us all met in Vietnam, and five pointers meet in Vietnam. That don't happen very often.
No. Okay, I want to just double check that camera because it's on the tripod, so don't go away. I just want to make sure that I'm not blocking out George here by sitting here, and it'd be an awful thing if I were blocking our picture of George. So. All right, so as long as I don't move any further than I was, we should be all set, gentlemen. So, Dave, you said George should be probably getting more mortar than shots.
George was he was stationed in Fubai, where Woody and we were in the infantry. We moved around. I moved all over Vietnam. I imagine Woody did too. Wherever we were needed, we'd go. The day I got shot, I was on we were going on an Operation Union 2, and we landed in horseshoe tree line in that rice paddy. In the middle of the rice paddy, there's a horseshoe tree line around us with about 4,000 NVA dug in, waiting for us. And when we landed, they waited until we were all on the ground. They opened up on us, and that's the day I got shot. You know.
Now, what is Fubai? What is this, a city? What was that, George?
City
City? So what were you doing there?
supply. Yeah, I wish I could tell you stories, but I can't.
You'd have to shoot me. And we don't want that to happen.
No,
No, so you're,
no, I was lucky.
but was there a lot of mortar?
We got bombed a few times.
Any of those bases, Calvin, they got
Well,
ordered a lot.
Well, I can imagine,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the enemy knows you're there, you know the supplies are there.
That's what Woody and I did. Some of them bases like Georgia's in, they'd send us some patrols outside of them and run, like bridge security, we did a lot of that. We set up patrols all around, day and night around bridges, and sometimes they would even set on a bridge, and the engineers would be working on it, and we'd have to drop our grenade in the water about every 10 minutes or so, because they'd swim up and blow the bridges. And the Vietnamese were happy because when we did it during the day too, because
Fish?
the fish, and you'd see them downstream all picking the fish up.
And maybe they still fish that way, who knows?
Yeah,
I think that's illegal to fish that way over here in the
we weren't doing it
States.
on purpose. We were doing.
I know, yeah. Hope they shared the fish with you. No?
I ate enough of that. Didn't want no more. And it wasn't cooked. It was dried, sun dried.
Now, were you on the shoreline there in Fubai? Your supplies come in by boat, or how do they get there?
No, trucks.
Trucks?
Ships landed in Da Nang,
Okay.
and then they truck them up. Yeah, Dave and I went over on ship. That was a fun experience.
USNS Gordon. We were on that for 30 days. A big Navy ship, troop carrier.
Did you get seasick?
No,
No?
I did.
Did you?
and it was funny because you'd go up on top deck, and this guy'd be leaning over puking, and the wind would take the puke and hit the next guy in the face, and he'd be puking.
Well, that would make me want to throw up too.
Yeah, and then if you go down into the head bathrooms, I felt so sorry for these guys. They'd be hugging a bowl, the whole day. Luckily, I didn't get sick.
It's all those days you spent out on Lake Champlain that made the
Yeah.
difference, probably.
Yeah, it made me a sailor.
That's all in that ship was right in the center of it, and they had stainless steel top tables, and you had to eat standing up. Well, if you didn't hang on to your tray, and the guy next to you didn't hang on to his tray, yours would slide away, and his would slide in front of you. You could eat his food.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a learning experience to.
I had guard duty one night on the fantail of the ship. On the fantail, there's just a little bench back there. Back at those big ships, it's not really that wide back there when they. Anyways, I was sitting on a bench, and you got to buckle yourself in on it. And it was rough out there that night, and sitting there all alone, just guard. And the water would be 40 feet above you, then it'd be 40 feet below you, then it'd be 40 feet above you, and it just, man, oh man, it was like
Like going to Laran.
same thing. It's kind of scary out there at night by yourself.
I can imagine. Did you have seatbelts?
Yeah, they had seatbelt. You had to buckle yourself into the bench here.
Yeah, I was watching an episode of Star Trek last night, and those guys, every time they fly all over the place. I said, here it is, the 24th century, and they haven't got seatbelts on out in outer space. What's the matter with those guys? Now, Woody, you talked about, that the little telegram that they sent back to your parents, and that's got to be one of the, you've got some books here that Jim Rochester put out, and you talk about World War II, or I know my uncle, the Trudeaus, I think 5 or 6 of them are over there. That's got to be tough when you got family members over there, and that here over 500,000 people were killed over there. That it's got to be tough on the folks back home.
Woody was talking about his parents getting a letter that he didn't know they sent. Well, my father received a letter that I was wounded. They had me shot in the thigh, and I was shot in the shoulder. So I had to call him. I called him from Japan, told him I was in the hospital and where I was shot, and I was doing good.
It doesn't help them to stop worrying.
No.
Well, I didn't have the opportunity to do a lot of writing. I wasn't a writer. I was more concerned with what was going around with me. So I never let my parents know, although I've got a letter, or I got a letter from a congressman from the state of New York saying that I had better write a letter home and let my parents know my situation, because I just didn't do it.
Right.
And so I did that, and along with that letter, I got a state flag from Governor Rockefeller, which I have pictures in my scrapbook at home that we put it on top of our bunker in Quezon. And so it was a heck of an experience being bombed or mortared for 4 months there in Quezon. And we did patrols up towards the DMZ because we were right on the DMZ. And but after I unlike these guys, they got a nice ride over in a boat.
Mm-hmm.
They put me on a 707, and we were there, and it seemed like a matter of hours. It was air conditioned, 70 degrees in there, and you get out, and it was 110 degrees. That first breath of air was just the shell shocker right there. And then it was all history after that.
I still remember stepping off that boat, and the first thing you smelled over there was it was like sewer.
Yep.
The country, they have no bathrooms. They all went in the rice paddies, and it just stunk. You get used to it after a while.
You get acclimated. It's like
Well, we
when
had
you
to-
work in the barn, you don't smell it anymore.
Sometimes we were out in the bush 20, 30 days at a time, and we never, wouldn't get back to a base camp, and we'd have to shower out of their wells. Oh, they used to get mad at us. We'd take a pail of water and dump it over us and soap all up and rinse us. And the water would go
Wasting
in our
all that-
well, the soapy water, they were mad at it, but we had to clean up somewhere. Take our canteen sometimes and fill them out of a rice paddy. We'd throw a couple of Halazone tablets in them, and it's like an iodine tab. Throw them in there and just put your fingers over the top so the leeches wouldn't go in, and you had to drink that water. I mean, that or none.
Yeah. That was your two choices.
We were always picking leeches off ourselves. If you went through a rice paddy, sometimes we were up to our chest here and holding the rifles up, and power went out.
Uh-oh. Lucky the camera's still rolling.
You'd have to get out, when you get out the other side, over there, everybody smoked cigarettes. It's a good thing because everybody was covered with leeches. You had them on your back, you had
Burn
them
them
on your
off.
belly, and you just touch them with a lit cigarette, and they'd drop off. But they'd cling right to you just walking through the water.
Ouch.
It wasn't a good place.
You had leeches too?
Absolutely.
I don't want to see any of your leech bites.
No, they were all over in them rice paddies.
Yeah.
During the monsoon over there, from about August to November, December.
Well, it was just like Florida.
It rains.
Florida's hurricane
Hurricane
season.
season.
That's what our monsoon
And it
season
rains
is.
every day. The rice paddies are dry before then, but they fill up to like 3 feet of water in them in that time of the year. It's 100 degrees during the day, and at night it drops to 70, and you're freezing.
Yeah.
Because you're so used to that,
Yeah.
that heat. What kind of accommodations did you have, George? Did you have bunks, or where were
Oh, we had tents
tents?
with a cot. Yeah, there was maybe 8 of us in a tent.
Probably hot shower every night and shower all week.
Steaks.
No. It was funny. The Army came in, and boy, the next day we had milk. I mean, that was something, because we didn't have fresh milk.
Things you take for granted that you...
Yeah.
I was in July when I first went over. I think George, you were there too, weren't you? July, and then you got sent to the...
Da Nang, and
Yeah.
then
Well, first place I was July, and we stationed at that base, and we run patrols all around there for a couple of months. And when we left there, the Army took that base over. I was up north probably 2 months after that, and we had to be security for a tank convoy that come back into Chulai. So we hadn't had nothing over there. Didn't have hot showers, didn't have hot food. You had sea rations, ice cream, none of that stuff. Beer. So when we got back into Chulai, the Army was out there taking pictures of us Marines. We'd been on this tanks for about 30 days. They were going back into Chulai, security for them, running patrols and riding on them. We're all covered with red clay dust. Army was taking pictures of us. And that night, their colonel of that base told, there was 60 of us altogether, I think 30 in the tank platoon and 30 of in my platoon. They told us that the club was ours. Army, stay out of it. So we went there, we had cold beer. They had boxes of Slim Jims and stuff like that. We never had that stuff before. Guys were buying a whole box of Slim Jims at a time, bringing back to the table. We made pyramids of cans. Ice cream, first time I had ice cream, hot shower, I think since I was Nam. It was like it was good duty going back.
So that's the way the Army had it every night?
Yeah, they had it a lot better than we did. I come out of there, Calvin, I come out of Vietnam in March of 68. I come home on leave. We didn't get out of the service till August 68. I come home on leave, and I think I had like 5 months of doing country, and I got sent to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. I was in Cuba for 5 months until August, and that was just like a vacation, I'll tell you. That's all we did is sit there and look at the Cubans, and they'd look at us, and we had fence jumpers every night. We'd pick them up and call out the OD. He'd come and get them. But that was the best duty in the world after being in Vietnam for a year.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can well imagine. What did you get? Any beer and ice cream?
No, I wasn't that lucky.
I was at one time.
If we ever had a beer, and I think I remember at one time it was probably November '67, and it was about 100 degrees, the beer. And you drank that, and well, I'll tell you, it was a buzz like there was none, never happened. No, we're out after we left Quezon, we're out in the bush constantly. I met, like I said, I met these guys in Phu Bai. I was going on in-country R&R because, and that was in February, and that was the only reason why I ended up in Phu Bai, because I was going from there to Da Nang.
China Beach?
I was going to China Beach, but, you know, the red-blooded American's going to go in Da Nang and see what's happening. Well, as I went into the city, they got mortar attacks. And so I was trying to get out of there, and MPs caught me, and I was in a zone where no Americans were supposed to be.
Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, they put me on a helicopter right after that, and they dropped me off in Phu Bai, and then I was back up in Quezon. As luck would have it, we were moving out shortly after anyways. We marched out of there, and we started off with a search and destroy in Quezonville, where they had dropped leaflets prior to it and letting them know that basically that we're coming, and anything that walk, talk, or crawl was fair game.
So were you in South Vietnam or North Vietnam?
South Vietnam, but we started from the DMZ, and we worked our way back, and ended up outside of Da Nang for maybe 2 or 3 months. We were out on patrols for 3 or 4 months, and ended up going into Da Nang after. Seemed like it was pretty secure. We were there for a while. And then I got a letter saying that my brother had got drafted and they were going to send him to Nam. So what I did is now I'm really gung-ho at the time. Now, it was like you flipped on a switch and I was...
You were G.I. Joe.
Yeah, that was all there was to it. And so I sent a letter to the CMC, Commandant of the Marine Corps, requesting for me to extend my tour over there so my brother wouldn't go over, because at the time they didn't want, if you had 2 sons in a family, they didn't want them both over there at the same time unless they volunteered. Well, obviously my brother was drafted and he didn't want to go anyway. So they gave me the orders to stay, but they give me 10 days, 10 days R&R. They sent me to Hawaii. And I went to Hawaii, Waikiki Beach, and I'm looking at a Look magazine where they've got all the spread about the Vietnam War, the Siege of Quezon, which was kind of ironic because I just came from there, and I was supposed to meet my wife there at the time, but she couldn't get over. And so I enjoyed myself for 10 days, and I went right back, and I stayed there for another 9 months after that. So, but as I said, I ate it up. I think I was just getting nuts.
Yeah, you just fell into it. It just.
Well, I didn't really start getting crazy until after my first confirmed KIA. When that happened, I stood there and looked at him. He was still alive, and this sergeant come up behind me and took a butt of his rifle, and he hit me right in the helmet. I mean, just like want to drive my head off my shoulder. Told me to shoot him again. I did. After that, it was like stars and stuff, and so I shot him again, and then after that, it was just like, now I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It was like, biggest thing I ever hunted was squirrels and rabbits down to the Fort Montgomery. Mm-hmm. So after that, it was pretty easy.
You did.
As far as I was concerned.
Shoot them or get shot. I mean,
That's it.
You had to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. So you'd gotten that point where
Yeah.
I shot somebody, I killed somebody, and now I've got to go on and
Right.
And accept
Right.
it. And
You know what? Everybody, I'm sure, reacts differently. But for a guy that's never, like I said, the biggest thing I did was shot a squirrel or a
Right.
pheasant or a rabbit. And when you take a human life, then like reality sat in, and it was like kill or be killed. Simple as that.
I know what you mean.
And so after that happened, it was, in my mind, fairly easy.
hmm So you got into that zone, so
Yeah.
to speak, right?
Yeah.
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 Now, George, any local fellows that were working with you on a regular basis? I heard the name Dave Mayer earlier, Greg Mayer. a
Greg
little
Murray
earlier.
over there, yeah.
Was Greg with you, or?
No,
No?
he was in infantry.
But he ended up going back to Fubai because he ended up with 3 Purple Hearts or something. Then he went back and they put him in Fubai. He didn't have to go back in combat.
After getting
Well,
shot
after 3
three
hearts,
times?
after 3 hearts, you don't have to stay out in the field.
Yeah.
You
You
don't
can go home if you want to, but it must be Greg wanted to stay there. And
Roy Ebert, he was over there with us.
No, was he with you? No,
He was infantry.
yeah, because Roy was with the Agent Orange. They're blaming that on
Yeah.
they're blaming that
I
on,
got
Roy's
that.
death.
Woody gets that, Agent Orange.
So you were involved with the Agent Orange
Oh, yeah.
too, which
Yeah,
was
both of us.
killing all the vegetation.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of areas of that, and they named it right because when you go in there, it smells like oranges, or it smells like fruit.
Mhm.
You can tell they sprayed there.
Yeah, but
Yeah, we breathed it in. I ended up with sugar. I think Woody's got sugar.
Yeah, I'm a diabetic.
I am too, and
I got 9 stents in my heart. They wanted to do a triple bypass. I refused that.
Agent Orange caused a lot of
Yeah.
problems.
I can imagine. If it's just killing all the vegetation,
Yeah.
somebody had to be smart enough to know it's going to affect human life too.
Oh, they're spreading it out farther and farther now. Some of the guys in Korea are eligible to get it now. The guys that were offshore in boats are eligible to get it now because the wind blew this stuff all over.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were going to say something, George?
No,
No? You weren't going to say anything? No? How come?
quiet.
You're quiet.
Quiet.
So what'd you spend your days doing, George?
In supply, handing out clothing and,
So did you guys ship stuff out to these guys on the line?
yeah, somebody would come in and they'd order whatever, and then just some guy off the street would come in and get something.
So you were in tents. Was it like we'd picture a base, or what kind of situation were you in? Were you in the middle of the city?
Oh,
or
we had a big tin warehouse.
how big an operation were it? How many guys might have been there?
Oh, there was maybe 5 of us.
That was battalion supply, right, George?
Yeah,
That's all? Just 5 of you?
yeah,
So you kept kind of busy, I would imagine.
yeah. but it was better than
Yeah.
these guys.
We got our supplies, Calvin. Most of it was.
He's wanted man.
We got ours mostly from when we needed something. It was brought in by chopper, dropped to us, and we're up when we're out in the bush, like boots or fatigues or all our food was dropped in.
You want to answer that? We can take a break.
It's a message.
That must have been a fun job, being the helicopter driver.
Yeah,
Because I'm sure the enemy didn't appreciate those choppers coming in.
No, they shot at them a lot. Those guys are brave guys, I'll tell you. The day I got shot there, we were taking rounds, like you wouldn't believe when we were medevacing us out. And I've been on a chopper. A good friend of mine, his name was Washington Fox. It's a black guy sitting right next to me, like Woody is. And we got fired at when we were taking off, and he got hurt up through the rear, killed him right there.
Wow.
2 weeks later, we're in the bush, and because I knew him good and he was in my platoon, I had to go to a morgue in Da Nang and identify him. And I'll tell you, that's something nobody wants to do. I went in there, and this guy was in a body bag, and he was stiff. They took his head, and they went like that. It just cracked, and I said, "That's him." And I would never want to go in a morgue again. It's not good.
Yeah.
And they were piled up with bodies in there. I mean, that was 1967. The war was bad. A lot of guys were killed.
Yeah, well, I was in Quezon, obviously, like I said, and we had like working parties, and there was a place there called Graves Registration. When the helicopters came in with the bodies, we'd have to take them off the helicopters and bring them into the. There'd be body parts and stuff, and we put them into their cooler. And as far as our getting supplies, we had a C-130 come in, drop the tailgate, and what they do is they throw out a parachute, and the skid of stuff would come off. They'd never land because we were constantly getting mortared and 50 caliber and whatever small arms fire all the time.
So you're throwing body parts. These are your cohorts. These are
These
are guys that were side by side with the day before. And
yeah, pretty much, yeah. They'd bring them in off the hills too. It was like, because there was a runway there, any casualties or KIAs or in and around the DMZ, that was their focal point where they'd bring them in and then obviously ship them out from there after they identified them.
now, what would happen to the enemy bodies?
They stayed right there where
They dragged their own away.
Yeah.
You'd shoot some of them, and you'd go look for them, and you could see the drag marks. So they didn't want us to know how many we got of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 4F, so because of my asthma, I got bronchial asthma, and they started the lottery system in '69. That was after you guys, where all of a sudden, instead of just now you had a number.
Yeah.
And my number was 346. So even if I had been 1A instead of 4F, I would have, probably never would have got drafted with a number that high. And I looked up today to see who were the lucky ones. September 14th that first year was number 1. So if you were born September 14th, and that took in, they started in '69, so it took in about a 44 to 49, 50, that age group of people that were born in those years. If you were born on September 14th, you got
indoctrinated.
Yeah. So you drafted, you said joined, that's right, you joined.
I joined. Oh, what did you do?
Yeah.
We all joined.
Yeah.
You can't be drafted into the Marine Corps.
No, Marine Corps.
That's right, Marine Corps, yeah. And,
Actually, when I went in, I was aviation guaranteed. Sergeant Major Jacques there, and I'm sure you guys must have had the same guy.
Yeah.
I was aviation guaranteed until I got out of boot camp. They gave me orders going to Westpac. Wow, I said Western Pacific, that's what they told me. Western Pacific, that's just awesome. Western Pacific, that's got to be Hawaii.
well, yeah.
Aviation guaranteed, I'm going to Hawaii. Never touched down.
I signed up for a truck driver. I go down the truck once in a while, but there.
You didn't show them your papers and say, look,
Yeah.
there's a mistake here.
Yeah. No, I went right to infantry. I fired. I guess I qualified too good on the rifle range at boot camp.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's it. You shouldn't.
Yeah, I should have missed the target a few more times.
Did you miss the target, George? Is that how you ended up in supplies?
Yeah.
George, I knew from St. Mary's.
Yeah.
He came to school one year. The next year he was, or was it the first? Was it your freshman year you went, or your second year you went to Wadham's Hall?
It wasn't Wadham Hall, but it was similar to that.
Yeah. George was going to be a priest.
Yeah.
Your sophomore year, so I
Yeah.
met you at your freshman year. Next year he doesn't show up. He's going to become a priest.
Father George.
Yeah.
Something.
Then he changed his mind after a year.
Yeah.
I think Ed Sweeney went too earlier than.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few guys.
That stayed though, right?
Well, he stayed longer than
Yeah.
most, but he ended up getting out.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know Bob Hebert, Bob Hebert.
Yeah.
He told me he'd done that. He went. In fact, he ended up going to school out there. That's why he never graduated around here. He went to.
Yeah.
So at any time when that mortar was coming in, did you wish you were a priest instead? And had you given any thought?
Well, I wanted to hear confessions.
Now, both these guys your parents were alive. Now, I'm trying to remember when your father, your mother, father, and mother, I knew them well. When did it, or you?
My mother died, let's see, we got out in August, and she died in October.
So while you were there, your mother,
She had a candle burning for me every day.
and how about your dad?
He lived till, made it to 73.
Well, I used to seem old, but it doesn't seem that old anymore.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to be 70. His mom and dad come to our graduation boot camp at Paris Island. I still remember that. My mom died, 61. She died young.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's just your father?
My father was a truck driver. He worked all the time.
Now, in one of these stories, it says Morrisonville. You weren't.
Yeah, I lived in Morrisonville when I was living actually in Chazy at my Doris and Leo's farm there, but I was living in Morrisonville when I went to school there. Went to school at Saranac.
I thought you were just famous for being Benny Arnold's cousin, but.
No. No, Benny and I are cousins.
All right, so George, did you spend your entire time over there in supply?
Yeah. Goodbye. And then, of course, luckily I went to R&R to, I was going to go to Bangkok. And this guy that went to Bangkok, he came back and he had to clap.
That's for you youngsters out there. Ask your parents to look it up.
Yeah, and so I figured, well, I'm not going to go there. I went
Well, a
to,
man like you wouldn't have to worry about that.
No.
You know, there's only certain ways you can. He was a priest.
yeah,
Only certain ways you can get that disease.
yeah.
So you went somewhere else
I
that's
went
safer.
to Taipei,
Type.
Taiwan.
That's where I went to, George. How'd you go? Taipei, Taiwan. Taipei.
So your years in Vietnam from when to when? When did you come back?
We went over in February and we come back in March. Went over February 67, come back March 68.
So you both came back at the same
Yeah,
time?
we went in buddy plan and we spent the same amount of time there. Flew them together.
Anytime you say, hey, my buddy's over there in supply,
No, I was never, the only time I was there was when I went into Hue and I got up around him. I knew where he was and I knew he was stationed in Phu. And we just happened to stop in there that night before we went into Hue and I met up with him. It's the first time I'd seen him since we've been there yet.
now you said you guys got all gotten together over there. How do you communicate between each other?
Oh, you write letters over there. All I
can-
had to do is, I had his address, he had mine. I mean, I wrote back and forth.
So they have regular.
Yeah. It's just like you're getting a letter from the States, you get I think you had to go to the States, didn't it, George? Yeah, I did. I had to go to the
San
States.
Francisco or somewhere, yeah.
Go to the States and then back to him.
Yeah.
As in
No
money.
stamps though.
See, look at all the money you're saving on postage. Now, was it like in World War II, or that somebody would edit it and cross out the?
No, not too much.
We just wrote free where the postage stamp would go.
Yeah, but sometimes the contents of the letters, I know in World War
They
II,
never
they would, somebody would get a letter home and, you know, I'm in such and such a place, that's all crossed out and, yeah.
No, I don't think they censored any of that. The only time that they did censor anything is when your tour was up and you went through an inspection of all your gear that you have to make sure that you don't have any
Grenades
ears or
Souvenirs.
Yeah, souvenirs from any weapons or anything that you may have picked up during a fight or something like that. But
A lot of guys tried to come home with grenades and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want them on a plane. I mean,
No. You don't want them sitting around your living room.
yeah.
yeah.
Now, you'd mentioned Pepe LaFountain, went in around, you met up with him, or?
Yeah, that was in February. When we all got together in
Puma.
yeah, that was 68.
Yeah, that was, I remember the date, February 20th, 1968. That's because I went into weigh in on the 21st, the next day. And we all met there, and I just got Bobby's thing right here. He was killed, and March 28th, 68. George and I were on our way home then.
You'd only been
And
here about a month.
He was in White Company, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. I was in Lima Company, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. So he went to my, my battalion.
Yeah, and for those, we mentioned it off camera, the local DAV chapter 179, is it?
179, yeah.
Is named in memory of Robert LaFountain, the Rouse's Point resident.
Yep.
Father Leon, they lived not too far from the Saxony.
Yep.
Stone house there
I think
next
his
to.
brother still lives there, don't he? One of them?
I don't know, somebody's living there, but I don't know who.
But Bobby Pepe was the type of guy you talked about. You became gung ho and GI Joe. I'd seen him. He was up at Northeastern prior to going back. You know, maybe a day or two before he was going back, and you could tell he was just. It was almost like he was anxious to get over there.
Well, he had only been in country a month.
Just a month.
Just a month when he got killed. He would, well, what he tells right here, we were giving him some pointers because he was probably going to be out in the bush where we were, and then we were, telling him what to do, what to look for, and
Well, right at the time that Bobby came over there, that was a rough time during the Tet.
Tet Offensive was bad in Vietnam.
It wasn't just the North, it was South, it was all over Vietnam at that time. So if you, for me, if you don't take everything all the training they give you and absorb it, because they're not giving you some information that's a fallacy. It's a way of life, and if you don't grab it and sharpen it up, anything can happen. And for me, I'm sure because we're all here, they as well, everything they learn, they put it to use, and that's why we're here today.
Well,
The day I went into Hue,
Not to put anything against Bobby, but Bobby just happened to be in the 5th Marines, and they sent. I think they ended up sending them back to Okinawa to regroup because they got wiped out so bad.
yeah, we lost a lot of men.
Yeah.
When we went into Hue, I'll never forget this. We come in, and they brought us in there on trucks out of Fubai. When we come in there was smoke and fire all over. There was tanks all over with ARVNs, the ARVNs, South Vietnamese Army. They were dead all over the place. Some of them on their tanks. I mean, we went in there. There was 4,000 NVA in the city of Hue, and we went in there and got them out of there. I was there when we raised the American flag. I was laying in a ditch one day. A whole bunch of us were in this ditch, and we're watching this big building, and we're getting sniper fire up. One of our tanks, like they had, 6 105s on them?
Yep.
Yep. It went around the corner and went down this road, and he's...
Oh, that's an Ontos, 106s.
Yeah, 106 hit. And they must have seen somebody with a law or a 3.5 bazooka launcher or something, which pointed at it, so it hurried up and backed out of there. And when it backed out, it cut into the ditch and run over about 3 or 4 of our own guys, killed them right there.
Oh.
Yeah. That was, he had to get out of there or they'd have blown him up, but he just cut too quick and went right in that ditch, and that's, it's not good.
no, it's got to be demoralizing when you.
Other time I was walking down the street, another day we were walking down the street down there, I had 3 guys ahead of me, It's just like walking down Margaret Street in Plattsburgh. I mean, they were all high-rise buildings, and the NVA were in them. You know where Marnes is in Plattsburgh? Like we go upstairs there?
Uh-huh.
Well, 3 guys ahead of me went around the corner, and they started up them stairs. I would have been the 4th guy to go up them stairs. There's a VC or NVA up there, threw a grenade down, and it just blew those guys all too well. I mean, I would have been next guy to go. The concussion knocked me down. I mean, it's, you don't remember, I mean, you don't forget stuff like that.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
So
I didn't get wounded, but the guys in front of me all got wounded bad.
So in that situation, did you realize
Well, we got 'em.
how dangerous it was when you got there, or is this kind of?
Well, we knew it was dangerous when we went in there. I mean, we see all the dead Arvins when we went in there. We knew they put up a fight. And
Arvins?
Arvins, that was the South Vietnamese army.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, there was a lot of them dead. And we just went around them, went in. I mean, you didn't have time to help them or, pick up the bodies or nothing. You just got in there to help our own guys.
Now, are you guys spending most of your time in South Vietnam, or are you actually in North Vietnam?
We never went to North Vietnam. We were always in South Vietnam.
Farthest away, I was on, like I said, on the DMZ. That's the separation between the North and the South. And the closest we ever got was we're over by Cambodia, as we were doing Operation Pegasus as we came out of Khe Sanh. After we got relieved by the Army, so we had. It was like a three-month operation that we went through. It was Operation Scotland 1, Scotland 2, Scotland 3, and Pegasus 1 and 2. And that was during the Tet Offensive. We were out there going through the foliage, cutting our ways through where they had supposedly cleared out with the Agent Orange that was to kill the foliage, and we went right through that stuff. So, but yeah, we never went into North Vietnam. I mean, obviously they did have patrols, lurks that would go through that were supposedly covert, that they wouldn't say, just to gain information.
Not the only ones that went to North Vietnam were the pilots.
Yeah.
Bombing?
Bombing, yeah.
So the DMZ is north of you guys?
Yeah, it's northwest.
So,
Yeah.
so why was there a DMZ when they're on this side of the DMZ?
One was North Vietnam. They were.
Well, it's just like the difference between Canada and the United States.
Korea
We
and
call
South
it a
Korea.
border here.
Yeah.
They call it a demilitarized zone.
Yeah, but they were on this side of the zone.
Oh, yeah.
They come right down to
Highway
fight
1.
with us. We never
Yeah.
went up into there, but they came
No.
down to fight with us.
Yeah, it was a demilitarized zone, but it seems like our side was respecting it more than their side. If they were coming through there to fight in South Vietnam, they had to get through the DMZ.
But you'd have to talk to General Westmoreland about that.
Well, I intend
They
to.
didn't have no customs come through. They just come.
He was the guy who was in charge of the conflict in
But-
Vietnam.
Yeah, it wasn't a war, but why have a DMZ if,
Yeah, exactly.
Hue City used to be the capital of Vietnam.
Oh,
It
it's
was a big
beautiful.
city. It's a beautiful city. And after the Tet Offensive, that city was completely destroyed. I mean,
They actually had a big wall built all the way around it, a stone
It
wall.
was a beautiful city.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know what it looks like now, but when we left there, it wasn't very pretty.
Well, I'm sure whenever the United States leaves anywhere, they rebuild it.
yeah,
You know what I
knock
mean?
it down and rebuild it.
Yeah.
George, you ended up being a, what do you call those guys there, in civilian light, ended up Sky Marshal.
Oh, yeah.
And that's you flew all around. Did you ever fly back to,
No,
never went back to Vietnam?
no, I remember when I was working in Montreal, though, I had a couple come through and where they live, Montreal. Where are you going? Vietnam. I said, Vietnam. I said, what's the reason for a trip? Vacation. I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, going to Vietnam for a vacation?
What's this world coming to?
Yeah,
So did you tell them about your vacation?
no.
No? So you got out what year you said?
68.
68? Now, are you on call when you get out?
Yeah, we are for, what do you got?
4 years, well,
years,
yeah, it's 6 year.
6-year obligation. They got 4 years to call you back in if they need you.
None of you guys were called back?
No, I did mine complete.
Woody stayed in long.
Yeah, I stayed in for 8 years in
8
the Marine
years.
Corps. And then after I got out of the Marine Corps, I came back home here and I joined the 50th Armor National Guard over in St. Albans. And I did that for a couple years. And then I had a hard time adjusting to civilian life, if you would. My marriage got kind of rocky and stuff, and it was just really hard for me to readapt to this type of low-key environment.
Nobody's shooting at you. You
No,
didn't
so
know how to handle it.
I moved to Massachusetts, and I joined the 26th Armored Mechanized Infantry in Army Reserves in Southbury, Massachusetts. Well, I did that for about another 6 years because what happened is I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. If I had the uniform, I was like you had said, G.I. Joe. I just ate, slept, crapped it, you know, and maybe that's something I should have been instead of aviation guaranteed. Anyways, yeah, I was in there, and it was peacetime, and I would do just like I did when I was in the military. If you were on guard duty or something like that, and we had a perimeter set up, and you dug in a foxhole, when I came around, you better have your eyes wide open. Well, some guys were sleeping. So what I would do is I would jump in their foxhole, I would take all their weapons, bury it in the dirt, and abruptly wake them up with my bayonet in a scabbard. I just want to point that out. It was in a scabbard in case he's listening. And I'd have it at his throat, and I said, look, you just weak point here, you just got everybody behind you killed.
Yeah. You didn't fall
Well,
asleep over there. That's not
I got it.
Took turns guarding.
I got
One stay awake.
I got 2 Army commendations that particular summer camp, and there was a promotion going up for E7, and so I went to the promotion board, and this colonel says to me, he says, after all my interview, and there was another guy going up for the E7 as well, he was a radio operator. He says, someone tell you right now, Sergeant Clark, he says, I'm not going to promote you. And like lightning hit me. Why not? And he says, because I was too aggressive for peacetime. Meaning, I played it like I was going to save your life. The things that I'm going to show you is going to keep you alive. Well, anyways, right after that, after they refused to promote me, he says, thank you for, for everything you do. He says, they wish they had more guys like you, but they wouldn't promote me. I walked out of there, and it was like another strike of lightning hit me. I'm done. I quit. You can't quit. So, yeah, well, Congress promoted me. Congress has to demote me. They thought I was kind of a little flaky, didn't know what was going on. So anyways, that was it. I was done. I was only about a little over a year and a half from retirement. I know. So, but then it was still, because for me, and I'm speaking for myself, I don't know these guys, I had to stay in that kind of environment because that's the way I could cope.
Right.
But, and after I got out of it, it's like, it's pretty obvious. I don't have a lot of friends because I don't mingle with a lot of people anyways. I pretty much stay to myself. I try to help out some other people. I tried to help Dave here at the VFW for a while, and that I had backed off that because it was kind of like too much crap going on. So anyways, that's my life history there.
Yeah, well, when you were doing this stuff, because you'd been over there and you knew what they needed to know and how they had to take this stuff seriously. So even though we weren't in a conflict at that time, we've sure as heck gotten in a lot of conflict since then. So
well, unfortunately, this colonel was on the promotion board at that time was non-com. He's never seen combat. He's probably been to a war college and whatever, and they taught him how to do all this stuff, but he had never done that. And like I said, he's thanked me, but he says, it was too aggressive, and it's been noted throughout the battalion.
George and I stayed in 2 years, and I went to Cuba when I come back, like I told you before, and when we come back to the States to get discharged, we get discharged the same day, rode home together. They offered me sergeant to stay in. I was corporal with 10 months in grade. They offered me, we were only going 2 years. I said, no, I'm not staying in. We'll give you staff sergeant. I says, no, I'm not staying in. Him and I left, we jumped in the car, and we left South Carolina, or North Carolina, so fast that we get a speeding ticket. Remember that, George?
Yeah.
We shared the fine. I can't remember how fast I was going, but we were in court. I still remember this. We were in court, and there was a black guy in court, remember? And the judge says to us, can you pay the fine? I said, yeah, we can pay the fine. He said, you're lucky, because that guy's going to jail. You don't remember it?
Yeah.
Well, did you have New York plates on? They like
Yeah,
like those
yeah,
New York plates
yeah.
down there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We didn't want to stay in.
no, well, around about the 68 or so, I think I read an article in Reader's Digest, and of course there was all this anti-war stuff going on. I don't know anybody who is pro-war except maybe Woody at one short point in his life.
Well, I wasn't pro-war,
Yeah, I know.
but at that time it was survival.
Right.
And I was going to be the top of there. I wasn't going to be the bottom of
Yeah,
the food
but
chain.
if you're gonna be in there,
Exactly.
you might as well be the guy coming out instead of
Right.
one of the statistics. But I read this article in the Reader's Digest, and I got to the point, and I read that, and I said, I don't think we're trying to win that darn thing.
That war over there, Calvin, we'd go into an area, we'd take it, and we'd move out. 2 weeks later, we'd go back in the same area again, take it again. I mean, it was like they were playing games with us, they just, we could have won that war if they let us go, and, but I think it was a political war. I mean.
I don't know what it was,
Then we come home, I remember landing in LA, when we come home, we had to take they told us to go to the bathroom and take our uniforms off and put civilian clothes on because people were spitting at us and throwing stuff at us, and I still remember that like yesterday. So we had to go take our uniform off. I mean, just come from Vietnam and put civilian clothes on so they'd leave us alone.
Yeah, here you are risking your life
Yeah.
out there,
Yeah.
protecting God and country,
Yeah.
and you come back to that kind of
Yeah.
baloney.
We didn't have a very good welcome when we went in 68.
Woody?
Oh, the civilians were crazy. They were burning flags, burning their draft cards and stuff. But even though, like George and Dave were coming home and myself at one point or another, we still had that esprit de corps. We were proud
Oh,
to
yeah.
be
Yeah.
Marines,
Yeah.
regardless of what the public thought.
Oh, yeah.
And as far as we're concerned, we won the war.
Yeah.
I put my uniform on before I got home, but we just took it off there because they were protesting so much,
Yeah, I cover a lot of honor flights, and they come back and they had victory parades and stuff like this. Then they went about their normal life, but even they complain about not
Yeah.
getting enough. But you guys had just the opposite.
Yeah.
There
There
wasn't
was no parades
there
for
was no
us.
pat in the back. It was
No.
a kick in the pants.
Baby killers and everything else.
Is it?
We never killed no babies. Nobody in my outfit ever did. I mean, intentionally, but that's what they called us. And
Yeah, if you shoot a mortar off, you don't know where it's going to land. You just
plane come in and dropped the bomb. It wasn't
Yeah.
us that did it.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. No, it was a sad part of our American history, I think, with all that, I don't know, like I said, I don't know anybody who was pro-war, so, yeah, we can be against this war, but do it in a responsible way,
Yeah.
not the way they were, and blaming the guys who were out there risking their lives.
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense to me, and
My family treated me good, and that's the main thing anyway. So.
so, George, you came back and you were done, but you you decided to get into these sky marshal things, and
Yeah, luckily. Yeah,
You and Al Kaufman.
yeah. Lucked out.
now were you basically right there in Montreal all the time?
No, Kennedy,
Kennedy.
New York, yeah.
So did you fly at all
Oh,
the time?
yeah. Yeah, first I got stationed in Atlanta, and I was flying domestic, you know, Chicago, Miami. So I called Kaufman up. I said, gee, I said, I've been to Chicago, New York, Miami. He says, I've been to Frankfurt, you know, all these, oh, I got to get back to New York. So finally, I was only in Atlanta, I think, 2 months. And then I got sent back to Kennedy. And then I got on all those trips. Yeah, it was fun.
How much, in a month's time, how many places might you go?
Well, you'd go like a 14-day trip. We'd go as far out of New York to Bangkok and then work our way back. And the guys from California would go to Bangkok and then back the other way. So,
You like living out of a suitcase, I guess that's good, huh?
yeah, well, beat Vietnam.
I didn't get that.
Wasn't much challenge there. Anything else, guys, that,
When I come home, Calvin, I started driving truck. My father did that for 40 years, and I ended up doing it for 40 years. Drove truck cross country all over the place here. Had my own truck for, I don't know, 12, 14 years, I guess. And that's about
your brother
me.
drove too, right?
Yeah, he still does.
Still does?
Yeah. Gary still hauls milk. My father drove, my brother drove. I got all kinds of cousins that drove and uncles. Truck driving family.
Anything else you want to mention about, adapting or anything like that, or? Yeah, I don't want to.
I'm pretty well adapted now, but when I first come home, I was kind of wild. You know, I drank a lot, and I got to say, my wife settled me down. I never got married till 32, and she quieted me down after that. I was pretty well.
We read so much now, almost at least once a month in our small Press Republican newspaper, you'll see some fellow with a military background who was in his 30s or so that died at home,
Yeah.
and
Post-traumatic stress. I tell you, it's bad.
and it just seems to be hitting such a big percentage of the guys that were over there.
Well, I still, right to this day, I mean, it's been 50 years, I still dream about that place. Sometimes wake up and hollering or jump in bed and, it's dreams. I had one not too long ago. I was over there driving truck, and I mean, I've never been over there with a truck in my, it's just that's on my mind all the time.
Well,
Yes,
your dreams don't have to
Yeah.
be logical. They
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Something you don't forget.
Woody?
No, I like Dave. I'll put a different handle on it. We have a little psychological problems that we have to deal with on a daily basis. But for me, it took me a long time. I'm not lucky like Dave. His wife, he says, straighten him out. I had a hard time adapting. I went through 3 marriages. And I had a problem, still have a problem with trust. No matter who you are, they don't trust you. I don't let you get inside me.
Right.
And still deal with it on a daily basis. Other than that, life goes on, I guess.
And George, no woman's ever tamed you.
I can still walk down the aisle in white.
White.
You heard the man. Who among us is,
Taipei?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
All right, so we saw these books here, and
Yeah.
this is some stuff that, these are two great books, scrapbooks
Yeah.
that Jim
Jim
Rochester at
put together,
Border Press and his family put out. It's just, what a legacy that, Jim did with these two books. It's
boy,
amazing.
these-
Scrapbook 1 and Scrapbook 2. And they go, right now we're in 2017. 100 years ago, U.S. was just getting involved in World War I, the war to end all wars. So we haven't had a war since World War I, apparently, because that was going to end all the wars. But this has got World War I, II, Korea, Vietnam, and Iran, Iraq,
Yeah, this is all of them.
Afghanistan. You got them all. So these are just fantastic books.
Yes, they are.
And allows people to share their stories. I know, like I said, my uncles are in there, all the Trudeau boys. I think 5 of them met up somewhere in Europe. You talked about you
Yeah.
guys meeting up in there. I think
Yeah.
the 5 Trudeaus, I think there's a little story in there about 5 or 6 of the Trudeaus getting together over there and meeting up. But, I can just imagine what my grandparents, great-grandparents were going through. Actually, my grandparents, because these are my uncles, with 5 or 6
Yep.
kids over there,
Yep.
Just what the heck do you,
Parents must have been on pins and needles all the time.
yeah. So anything else, gentlemen, that we've been talking about the Vietnam experience of these 3 gentlemen, George Marnes, Woody Clark, and Dave Pickering. I can't remember now, what's your first name, Woody?
Woodrow.
Woodrow. It is Woody.
Same as his father, yeah.
Yeah.
Woodrow. Named after Wilson?
More than likely my father, because he was a Woodrow as well.
And
He was
George?
probably a Woodrow Wilson named after.
And George, you're a junior also.
Well, I'm George B. My father was George A.
Okay.
And what was George Barney to you? If he was your uncle?
My uncle. That was my mother's brother.
Yeah. And Dave, you're not a junior.
No, I'm the only one.
One of a kind.
There's a lot of Dave Pickerings around, but they're the ones that get in all the trouble. It's not me.
If there's a Dave Pickering in trouble, it's not this fellow here. So, unlike the 543,482 who lost their lives over there, just to me, in such a short period of time, it's just such an astronomical number. Have you guys seen I know they had a replica of it here, the Viet Nam Wall
I've never seen it.
in Plattsburgh, the traveling wall. I saw that when it was there, but
George,
I saw the one in Washington.
did you saw the real one?
Yeah, I went down to Washington and saw it because a couple of the guys were with me in Vietnam. I went down and I took paper,
trace your name.
traced their names. Yeah, just
Yeah.
one was a corpsman and one was a guy in front of me and one was a guy in back of me, and so I made that one stop there and that was it. It was too mind-boggling, the atmosphere there. It's so serene.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of pictures, and I don't know if I could handle it.
Yeah, because you guys both were shot. Bullet just 6 inches there, that other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have been a statistic there.
Oh, yeah.
It's so you got to be thinking of that constantly, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
And George, even though you weren't being shot at, you were being mortared, and
Yeah, I was lucky.
yeah, well,
It's funny, when I went to the wall in Washington, we're all on a bus, a regular bus, civilian bus, and, everybody's kind of hollering and everything. Then when we got off the bus and walked down towards the wall, everybody was just silent. It was amazing the effect it had on everybody.
yeah, you realize every one of those names, and it's just,
Yeah, I saw, the ones I knew that got killed.
Yeah, there's a lot of them on there I knew.
I can't remember how many locally we lost.
Tommy here, Tommy,
Tommy Eldridge.
I think he was the first one from the area.
Tommy Gatto, and all that North Country platoon, they went in just before
Yeah.
us guys. There was, what, 24 of them?
Something like that, yeah.
Some of those guys got killed.
Pepe LaFountain.
And what, there was a ceremony last summer for him,
Bucky.
Corey Buskey.
Corey Buskey.
Buskey.
Oh, yeah.
Buskey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corey was one of the first ones around here to get killed. I think he got killed in '66.
Yeah, I think so, January or
That's
something like
when
that.
we went in, yeah.
Okay, anything else, clippings or anything that you want to read from or mention, or?
Let you read them, Calvin.
Well,
One here about 5 Ross's pointers that all
Okay.
met and on, and I
I'll,
got 2 of me when I was wounded. But
let's see here, this is what this one here says. We just talked basically about what was going on back home and what was happening here in Vietnam. That's the way Lance Corporal Woodrow Clark of Rouse's Point described the chance reunion of 5 Rouse's Point Marines at Phu Bai. The 5 who met by accident.
Yes.
Or PFC Robert LaFountain of Champlain, actually from Rouse's Point. Of Champlain Street, it says. That's what it says. Okay, Champlain Street. L Corporal was that. What's L Corporal? George Marnes. What's that L stand for?
Lance Corporal.
Lance Corporal.
Lance Corporal.
Lance Corporal. George Marnes of Pratt. David Pickering, formerly of Rouse's Point. Corporal Paul Mayer. Greg Mayer, as we know him. He lived in Burlington area, I believe. Colchester, Burlington area, I believe. He lives now. I graduated with Greg. Corporal Paul Mayer of Maple Street, and Corporal Clark, who wrote that he just wanted the parents of these Marines to know we're all fine. He also gave PFC LaFountain a few pointers on how to act when being hit by mortar and rockets. So apparently he didn't listen too close, poor Pepe. You know,
Well, you never know what's going to happen. I mean,
that's right. Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, but except for the grace of God, any one of those things that hit your cohort or yourself could have been far worse. And they'll just zoom in on the book, and that's how we'll end this. But this book is available at Border Press, and if you're anywhere, if you know anybody in the Northern Tier who served in the military, then chances are their family stories are in this book.
they're all in alphabetical order in the back, all the names in the book.
Yeah, everything even easy to find. So we want to invite any other veterans out there who would like to talk. It took a while to get these 3 guys together, and it finally happened. But we want to talk to everybody who wants to tell their story, and maybe even a few who don't want to tell their stories.
Tried to get Billy over to come out, but he must have been busy today.
All right, so
He was wounded over there too, I think. Wasn't Billy?
No, I don't know.
I think he's got a heart. I'm not sure.
So thank you for watching Hometown Cable, and thank these 3 guys right here for their service next time you see them.